Hi. Okay, so today we're going to do derivatives using chain rule. So when we need to use chain rule when we have a function inside of a function, okay? So this is basically how chain rule works. So if you have a function, so think composition of functions. So I have a function where I have a function stuffed inside of a function. So what I do to find the derivative of it is I find the derivative of the outside function. I keep the bracket the same, and then I multiply by the derivative of the bracket. So that's how I do chain rule. So let's look at this. Okay, so my outside function would be something to the power of 5. So how do I find the derivative of something to the power of 5? It would be 5 times something, reduce the exponent by 1. So that's how I find the derivative of the outside function, and then I multiply by the derivative of the inside. So 2x plus 4. Okay? So that's very simply chain rule. So you use chain rule when you have a function inside of a function. Very commonly, you have a function all to the power of something. So let's look at another example that has that exact situation. So this one's a little bit in disguise because it's the square root. But remember, the square root just means all to the power of half. So to find the derivative, I find the derivative of the outside function, which is something to the power of half. So multiply the coefficient by the exponent, reduce the exponent by 1, so a half minus 1 is negative half, multiply by the derivative of the inside then. And this guy needs a little bit of simplification, so this is going to go on the bottom along with the 2. So the derivative of that would be 3x squared over 2 root 1 plus x cubed. So that would be that derivative. Okay, I'm going to do another 2 examples with you. When we're doing chain rule, this is another time that you can use chain rule. So this is an example of something that you could use quotient rule for, okay? But you could also use chain rule and make it a little bit simpler by actually simplifying it first and writing this like all to the power of negative 4. So then the derivative is minus 4, we keep the bracket the same, reduce the exponent by 1, and multiply by the derivative of your bracket, okay? And that's gonna need some simplifying, so minus 8x plus 8 all over x squared minus 2x minus 5 power of 5, okay? And then the last thing is I find people really struggle with to know to use chain rule is when we have trig derivatives involved here. So cosecant 3x squared plus x. So when you're doing something like this, it is just using chain rule. So we find the derivative of the outside, we keep the bracket the same, and then we multiply by the derivative of the bracket. Well, the derivative of cosecant x is negative cosecant x cotan x. So negative cosecant x, but that's our x, cotan x, and then you multiply by the derivative of the bracket. So that is the trig derivative using chain rule.